Warning, the following story actually happened to me. Do not do what I described doing in the following story. I wish I had had this knowledge. So, just this past Wednesday, I was delighted to discover that the new game Cuphead had been released. I had been anticipating it for a while, and its existence had slipped my mind. I had recently been at a friend's house and saw him play it on his Xbox One, but I never got the opportunity to play it myself. I'm not proud to admit it, but I didn't want to spend money on the game. Normally I do try to purchase indie games to support the developers, but I had recently made a purchase to repair my car's transmission, so I was low on cash. I wasn't entirely familiar with how to pirate video games. My friend's older brother had told me how to do it before, but I didn't recall the website he'd shown me. I knew it was something like Black Skull Games, so that's where I googled. I clicked the first site that wasn't an ad and was greeted with a page that looked straight out of the early 1990 days of the internet, or worse, the dark web. The stark black page contained only three things: a search bar, aerial text displaying the name of the page, Skull Black Gaming, and an image of a real skull that had been spray painted black, clearly taken with a digital camera circa 2006. It was unsettling to think somebody's actual skeleton had been defaced like that. However, it was possible it could have been fake, so I brushed it off and began to search. Cuphead I typed into the search bar, and quickly pressed the enter key, impatiently wanting to play the game. The first and only result was text displaying Cuphead, early copy 2015. I was stunned. This wasn't the newest, most polished copy of the game, but it was a rare opportunity to play an older version of a game that had been in development for a long time. Not only that, but 2015 was when I had been most interested in the game's development. It appeared as though the file had been uploaded to the site that very year. If only I had known at the time, I could have been playing it for years before everyone else. I quickly hit the download button and it instantly appeared in my download box. Cuphead.exe. I double clicked it and was shocked to hear the blaring alarm from my antivirus software. I quickly turned it off. I knew pirated games often set off the software, as my friend's brother had told me. The game began loading and I was greeted with the logo of the game's company, MGTK. Then, the opening cutscene began. I was delighted to see the old-timey animation and the smiling faces of Cuphead and his friend Mugman. However, there appeared to be no prompt to continue, and I quickly began hitting every key on the keyboard to proceed. Minutes passed and I became distressed, but I glanced up towards the screen and noticed something had changed. Cuphead was no longer bobbing up and down, as was his normal looping animation. He was standing completely still, but not as though the game's animation had froze. He was swaying, and I could see his chest rise and fall in an eerily realistic fashion. He stared directly at the screen, almost as though he was looking through it and directly at me. "That's weird," I said under my breath, trying to brush it off and look for a controller. Perhaps that's what the issue was. I needed a controller to continue the game. I stood up from my seat and began searching for one, but as I walked away from the screen, something changed. The music had stopped, and when I turned back, Mugman was gone. Only Cuphead remained, standing in the middle of the screen, staring directly at me. "What the hell?" I said. I slowly approached the screen, ready to hit the escape key. Slowly, he began lowering his head, and I mashed escape, not wanting to see what would come next. However, the escape key didn't work. Neither did Control-Alt-Delete. Cuphead tilted his head down far enough to reveal what his cup truly contained. Steeped in liquid was none other than a harlequin fetus. Bloated, pink, leprous, suppurating pus and vomit. Its mouth opening and closing with the tide of the jolted liquid in the cup. I gasped, disgusted by what I saw on the screen before me. The fetus's vestigial arm fins flapped ineffectually in the liquid. Its head kept it buoyant, for it was bloated beyond any proportional logic. Its skin is lustrous. I wasn't sure if it was from the broth or from the murky afterbirth pooled at its shiny flanks. A severed umbilicus draped over the edge of Cuphead's head, frayed like a dry rope. There's a dent atop the fetus's skull, soft, pushed inwards, pressure assaulting an already malformed and undersized brain. Its eyes are blasted over with cataracts, two unnerving blue orbs sunken into its malleable and uncannily almost human visage. Cuphead's eyes began rolling back into his cup head, and he smiled, almost as though he was happy to see what he carried in his cup this entire time. I quickly ran to my computer's power cord and pulled, the screen flashing to an eerie blank screen. I collapsed to the ground, crying from what I had just seen. Was this truly an early copy of the game? Did the developers put this in there? It looked too realistic to be drawn, or even be a 3D model. Whatever the reason was, or whatever the source, I couldn't bear to see any images or gameplay from the new Cuphead. For I, and only I, truly knew the dark secret that resided inside. And that's today's creepypasta reading, guys. That was a creepypasta called Cuphead.exe. It was okay. I found it on Reddit and thought I'd read it to you guys because I know a lot of you like the Cuphead games. I quite liked the first part of that creepypasta because it was quite eerie, you know, the idea that this guy pirates a game from the internet. You never know when you download a pirated piece of software what's going to be contained on the files. You know, it's never completely safe. And so, even if you did a virus scan, you might get something you don't want on your computer. And so I liked the idea of obviously something appearing on the computer after he downloaded like a dodgy copy of Cuphead, but when it got into the sort of gore and the detail of what the game was, and we saw like the fetus thing in Cuphead's cup, it just kind of seemed a bit silly and it went on too long describing the thing. It wasn't particularly scary or creepy, it just seemed a bit weird, and it really just killed the creepypasta because I think there could have been so many different directions he took with this. You know, he could have had the file be downloaded, infect his computer, and find weird images in different areas on his computer or something. That would have been more realistic and more creepy. You know, it could have been that it turned his computer on at night and left him messages, and if something like that would have been better. But the gore and the over-the-top sort of like gross factor of this creepypasta, it just made it seem silly, and so it's not a great one in my opinion. But you know, I hope you enjoyed the reading of it today. I hope you enjoyed me reading it to you, and if you did, obviously remember to give this video a like, leave me a comment down below and let me know your thoughts on it, and of course subscribe to the channel for more creepypasta readings and other horror related videos, and I will see you guys on the next one.